and welcome back to another episode of the Choose954 Podcast, episode 108, here from the beautiful Miramar Cultural Center with our curator, Camasha. If you didn't know about Choose954, myself, Evan Snow, and my business partner, Mr. Andrew Martineau, started a social movement to cultivate culture and community here in my native Broward County in an effort to keep people to know with all the great things that are going on to make this a better place to live and not just a better place to vacation because we live here. The point of the podcast is to connect you with interesting people like her. They're doing quite a bit of amazing things, and we got quite a bit coming up here in Miramar if you didn't know. So without much further ado, could you share a little bit about your journey that led you up to this point of becoming the curator here at the Miramar Cultural Center?
Yes. So my name is Camasha Cevieux. I am the Director of Cultural Affairs for the city of Miramar, the beautiful city of Miramar. And being a curator here is just like being a creative director here. Just thinking about where we should go next for the city. And the ability to go there is probably the most beautiful thing. So I've been doing this job over 16 years with the city. I was very lucky. I've been lucky because there's not a lot of performing arts centers that are being built. So I was lucky to be part of the team to help develop and program it. So then I think from that hatch, you could look back and understand where you've been and then obviously caretake where you need to go.
Sure. What was your arts training and experience kind of beforehand?
So I would say that I'm a student of the world in a sense. I'm classically trained in government. So I have a master's in public administration. I have a degree in communications, all from Florida International University. So very lucky and grateful for that experience with FIU. And then I've come on board. I went into corporate America. So I have a very strong branding experience. I used to work for Louis Vuitton more than Hennessy prior to coming to government, thinking I would re-engineer government with my corporate principles. It's slowly humbled, knowing that was impossible. But was able to get on board with a team early that the city had never had a cultural facility in its history. The city's turning 70 this year. And at the time that we built the Cultural Center, again, it was the first institution of its kind. Now there's about 3 platforms in the city that includes the regional park, which has an amphitheater, and another stage out east, intentionally done for the arts, which is Shirley Branker's band shell.
Nice.
So the Cultural Center was the mothership or the flagship, and still continues to be the flagship for the city.
Phenomenal. And I mean, just kudos to yourself, the team, City Commission, everybody involved for the public art with the arts park and the sculptures and and the concerts and the ongoing programming has really done quite a bit to not only attract people to want to live and work in Miramar, but then retain them and keep them here. And you need things. You need arts and cultural elements to make this a place people want to live and work and make their home and their family. So kudos to you and the team in that regard. So we're here in front of a very powerful exhibit you've curated. Could you tell us a little bit about your path that led to curating this Supreme Power exhibition? So
yeah, I am so, again, incredibly blessed to be sitting in a space to think about where we can go next and then have the freedom to do that. And the commission that we have has been very supportive of my ability to evoke change and be creative in this space. So it has allowed me a lot of levity, I guess, to be able to do so. So this exhibition came to me just as a conglomerate of things. Again, I think we were talking about just looking at during Black History Month, how many people have impacted the history of America and just how can we tell that story? I mean, if you sat and tell a story in one chunk, you might miss a lot. So each year we decided to break it out. We've done, up to this point, the Crown Act, we've done redlining, and this year the focus that you see is the Supreme Court.
And very serendipitous timing, fortunately, unfortunately, for better or worse, but thankfully art is an amazing tool for communication, for storytelling, and you're doing a great job in doing so. So what inspired you to focus on Supreme Court cases affecting people of color in America for this exhibition? Was there a particular case or story that sparked this idea?
So it's Black History Month, and we start Black History early. We look at Martin Luther King's birthday across Black history. We want to put things in here that's going to matter. We don't want you to come in here. We try to be very intentional. So recognizing the time, obviously, that we're in, changing administration, just looking at I think people are becoming more politically astute and understanding like how the world works and and why things should matter. So when you focus on that, and then you focus on Black History Month, and you look at just what really makes Black history in the United States, just the people that brought us here to this point have been extremely resilient, extremely heroic to face things that were very hard. And I wanted to be able to take a look at that, that through this exhibition through their lens, be able to curate history and in such a unique way that people can see it, but also can see obviously the artistic value of their, when you look at their faces, just the risks that they took to bring forth all these great things that they did for us. At the time, they probably didn't feel like the heroes. They probably felt like the victims. But it was important for me to showcase all.
Yeah, and you've done a great job, and it expands beyond this section here that we'll maybe spin the camera and show them around. How did you determine which Supreme Court cases to feature in this exhibition, and was there an approach to selecting the 16 cases that best represent the themes of this exhibit?
When you go looking for research, these are the cases that pop up. So it was a big research project for me. And it pulled in a lot of cases you might have seen in my history books as I was growing up, but there was a lot of ones that I know you wouldn't have known. And that was actually really attractive to me, I found cases I had not heard of, but I can honestly see their impact. I mean, we're talking about everything from voting rights in this exhibition to how political protests can be, who you marry is in this exhibition. Also, when I look around, how you go to school, if you can stay in a hotel, these are very simple things that really lead to everyone's humanity. And yeah, so when you think about that, what were they really fighting for? They're fighting for their humanity. And while they didn't realize their historical impact, it certainly has made one.
Yeah, and you're quite well researched, you're quite well studied and read. How did you work with artists and legal professionals and other collaborators to translate these historical cases into this visual experience we see behind us here?
So usually I do work with a lot of artists, but when you're dealing with something so niche like this, it became a difficult sort of state to find. So what I did is I researched Getty images, which allowed me to deliver the appeal of this exhibition because I saw it as a photographic exhibition. Right? I saw that photography would be able to sort of, what does photography do? It freezes time and it freezes expressions. It freezes a lot of things that allow you to sort of, these images emote what people were feeling. I thought that would be the best way to express it. Also, the headlines. I felt people don't really grasp how significant a headline is and how important that is. So not only are you seeing the storyline connected to some of these cases, but you're also kind of reading around it and some of the things that are actually happening at the time. It really it is also freezing time. So there was actually no other way to do this exhibition but through photography. And that actually was very difficult to find an artist. So I had to research Getty images that would be able to align with the vision that I was intending to deliver.
And it's interesting, the power of headlines, and a lot of these headlines were before the clickbait era.
Correct.
And modern journalism, when the news was more or less the news.
Right.
But thankfully, right, with the power of art and photography and images, you're able to really highlight some important cases, decisions that still impact everybody to this day.
Right.
And I know we're going to be bringing this to life on Wednesday, February the 12th. Can you tell us a little bit about what people can expect to join us?
Yes. So every year, this exhibition is always coupled with what I call an art engagement dialogue. So I don't want you to just come in here and see this exhibition. I wanted a way for that we can discuss all that's happening, all that matters here. And the only way to do that is with a panel. So we research every year, the panel will be different based on the subject matter. This year we have about 3 to 4 legal professionals that their bandwidth is so immense and intense that you could probably listen to each one of them speak by themselves. just because of their backgrounds, whether it's coming from civil rights, just because of not only the work they do in the law firm, but the work they do in the community. Our Eugene Pettis, the attorney that's moderating it, he is awesome. He actually just been awarded by the YMCA for a Community Spirit Award. We also have Bacardi Jackson, who's on there as an example. These are just examples. This is just like a window into that world. Her family's from a civil rights background. We also have Norman Powell, who's actually our city attorney, but actually brought a case before the Supreme Court successfully. So you have people from different frames that'll be able to sort of dive into a conversation that's just not on a case level, but just on just what is it doing to society. So it's going to be really a cool space that you don't get to visit, very often.
Right. To hear from these powerful minds in this context. It is a free event from 6:30 to 8:30 on Wednesday, February the 12th.
Correct.
If they attend on that day, or they could attend any other day as the center is open to the public, what do you hope visitors will take away from this exhibition, and how do you see this exhibition impacting conversations about justice, history, and equity?
So, what's interesting is we did a preview to our directors in the city, and that was my first time that people were really, able to, I guess, without any precursor of what they were going to expect, right? And we got every emotion from crying to joy, to see just this compilation of just energy of behind what people had to do to get us here. So that in and of itself it was a successful feeling that I felt that we achieved, just sort of beta testing the directors associated with the city departments here. But outside of that, I do want people to not only seek the information here, but want to find out more, right? So that's where it begins. I think this is the beginning of a conversation for, that you can understand that there's more that you may or may not know, or some things that you do know that you're not looking at from a different lens. I'd like them to look at the people. Look at the people that took, their lives and put it in front of the court system to try to make life better. I'd like them to understand the connection and the importance of the court in their lives, and not think that they're here and the court is there.
Right.
But the things that are happening to us in society all matter, and somehow we're all connected. So I think if people leave with those value systems from this, I know it's a big thing, you leaving with value from. But I think ultimately, we'd achieve something great here.
And we talked a little bit about, the kids hopefully seeing this, getting inspired. You got to know where you came from to know where you're going.
1,000%.
And, it's unfortunate that some people are trying to rewrite history, another conversation for another day. But thankfully, with the history and the cases that you've thoughtfully chosen to highlight, it really does bring a lot of context to how fortunate we are to be here in this country,
right.
However divided and however crazy it is in this moment. And, thankfully, I think with more people kind of stepping up and being a little bit more engaged and a little bit more aware of the situation, we're now able to hopefully, in future generations and generations to come, help chart our path. I think there's going to be a new wave of people getting involved in politics that are a little bit more open-minded, a little bit more progressive, and hopefully at some point a little bit more bipartisan. But we are here where we are now.
But I would like to touch
Please.
on the point that you made when you said about rewriting history. That's a great point, because when you see these headlines, it's written. This is history written. If you don't show it, then yes, you can write whatever narrative but you can't change these narratives.
Right.
This is what actually happened. So I think that's a very important toll that you put out. And that's sort of my goal here, to not erase the history, but to showcase it in a way that you can appreciate the strife.
And that's another reason why I love storytelling, be it this podcast or be it, having a panel discussion, so you can, hear beyond the headlines, hear beyond the story from a personal take, and especially with some of the, powerful thought leaders and intellectual minds that you're bringing here to the Miramar Cultural Center,
Really
here in our
excited
community. I mean, I've known Bacardi for some time,
Yeah.
and she does have a very strong, personal connection. So I'm excited for that, and I think others should be excited because these conversations, unfortunately, maybe they do happen more in DC,
Right.
or in Boston, or in some of the
Northern,
oldest.
the northern, yeah.
Correct, but
Yeah.
they should be able to happen in any community as well.
Agreed.
Especially such a well-cultured, diverse community here in Miramar, here in Broward County, one of the most diverse places in the country.
Right.
So regarding your personal reflections, has working on this exhibition shifted or deepened your perspective on the intersection of art, history, and law? And are there any particular cases or pieces in this exhibition that hold personal significance for you, aside from all of them?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So ultimately, I think the privilege to be able to look back at history and see how history almost curates itself, right? So while I can take credit, right, for the development and alignment of this, but almost that's kind of like the beauty of this exhibition. It curated itself because these are the cases. This is nothing that I can shift and that's what's making this exhibition so significant. So if you were weaving a quilt, it's almost like it did it itself. And that for me became very exciting and attractive to look at, because ultimately that I set out the goal to be able to educate from that perspective. So it delivered for me. So there was an intersectionality all across the board, and I appreciated. Of the cases, I think, there's a lot of cases, right? Like you said. I think if we look at what's current, I think Brandenburg versus Ohio was a significant one because we have a new president of the United States, and those cases are still being measured against some verdicts that are happening against the rioting on Capitol Hill. I think that brought me to a point that you can't erase history. You can use it, and it's still being used. It shows how these cases, once they're done, once they're judged upon, they are relevant. And unless they were repealed by the court, this is what we are measuring. There's no litmus scale to change it unless politically, as we've seen, something can be overturned. We never thought a case can be overturned by the Supreme Court, but recently we've seen cases that we would never believe that would ever be overturned. And if you even look over here to Biden's reform is a part of this, because although it's not going to see the light of day, one of the things that he did not include was a measure of change for or repealing a case. He talked about, code of conduct and other things that were impacting the actual justices. But one of the things that still puzzles me to this day, and I think it's questionable as you walk through here, how could you overturn a case if these cases are still relevant today? So there's a lot of questions. I think you walk away when you spoke. For the person that are coming to view this, you learn, you question, and then you want to learn some more, right? And I think if you have that, then we've done what we needed to do.
And just as I was, severely inspired and impacted by my early trips to Wynwood that gave me exposure to the arts, I would love to think and hope that some kid, person, adult might come here, see it in a different light and context than maybe they did in school or in a school book.
Absolutely.
Or on the news or whatever.
Right.
And hopefully that could maybe be the spark that says, you know what, I want to get involved. I want to make a change. I don't want to, in my little, if it's a city, county commission, state legislator, whatever capacity, that by bringing this to light, by making it accessible and free to the community, you are now at least having a field to plant the seed where that could potentially be watered and grown and nurtured into our next, Bacardi Jackson or Shavar Oren or, whoever.
Absolutely. That's correct. What will it stir inside you?
And I'm really excited for the 12th for the conversation, because I'm sure quite a bit's going to be stirred up.
Absolutely.
But I would like to stir up some of the images that are on the other side of the wall here, if we maybe want to just take an opportunity to highlight some of the photos in one of these cases.
Please do.
So we wanted to show them some of the photos on exhibit here behind us. Which case would you like to highlight here today?
So Cooper versus Aaron is a great one because it happened after Brown versus Board of Education. And it's a great example of a case that I hadn't heard of when I was growing up in school, but existed. It actually looked to repeal Brown versus Board and return kids to segregated schools. And in this case, it was obviously voted that that should not happen. So in this image that you see here, you see the the U.S. Marshal taking the children to school, and also people that were still protesting when this went forward. So for me, when kids are coming into this, they actually see more than what they probably would have heard before. So this gives them more context of how much elimination that was still within society and what people were fighting for, even after what they would have known to be true, which is Brown versus Board of Education.
Very well put. And then this extends back all the way down here. Great photos, selfie opportunity in front of the
steps of the Supreme Court.
Yes, phenomenal. So in winding down here, as the Director of Cultural Affairs at the MCC, what should we look forward to for the remainder of the year? Are there any other projects or initiatives that you're excited to work on and continue exploring the themes of social justice, history, and community engagement?
So what's the cool space that we have at the Cultural Center is that we do a lot of celebratory things for all. This happens to Black History Month, but there's Hispanic heritage, there's Haitian American heritage that's coming up. There's many other celebratory things, and we are the answer to that narrative for the city of Miramar. So we are honored to be at the footsteps of that and to be able to celebrate all cultures. In fact, the staff is a multicultural mix of people. Everything from the Caribbean to being of Jewish descent, from also being of Polish descent, I believe. So we have just a myriad, and all of it actually adds too much value to us. The city of Miramar, one of the things that they celebrate is diversity, and that's what this cultural center is at the footsteps of. And it makes our slogan so true. It's where community and culture converge. So I would go on our website, at www.miramarculturalcenter.org. I will follow us on all platforms at Miramar Cultural, and you can't be anything but excited. The hype is definitely real here.
That's right. And very well put. I mean, you guys have done some great jobs, great exhibits, great public art, beautiful cultural center right here at the heart of Miramar. So at 2400 Civic Center Place in Miramar, Florida, 33025. The last question that we like to wind down with here on the podcast is, why do you choose the 954?
We choose 954 because they get it.
That's right. And I think we can end with that. Thank you very much for your time. We look forward to having people join us on Wednesday, February the 12th from 6:30 to 8:30 for Supreme Power and Art Engagement Dialogue. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.